Hi kids, it's Tom from Dos Lagos Vineyards, and today we're going to make Boeuf Bourguignon. And really, as we do this, we have to say, in honor of Julia Child, Boeuf Bourguignon! And so we'll be speaking with a Boeuf Bourguignon accent the entire time. Actually not. So first thing is, any recipe that starts with bacon, gotta be a good thing. So we're going to fry up some bacon in this beautiful Dutch oven. You can use a slow cooker, you can use a Dutch oven, either thing is good. We're going to use the Dutch oven to start with and slow cooker for tomorrow. Here's the beef, and here's our little garden greens that are going to go in there. And so we're just going to give the bacon a few minutes to kind of get started. And while the bacon's going, I'm going to be chopping some onions. The wine we're going to use today is Dos Lagos Vineyards 2010 Cabernet Sauvignon. If you have any 2010 left in the cellar, you probably ought to think about getting that out. It's drinking beautifully right now. We're going to go ahead and use it in the Boeuf Bourguignon because I had a Magnum open and we didn't quite finish it. I know, it's stunning to imagine that we wouldn't finish wine here, but we didn't. And so, chopping onions. So the bacon is pretty happily cooking in here. What we're trying to do is render out some fat that I can use to help season the dish. And when the bacon is nearly done, we'll go ahead and pull that out, and we'll get some onion and garlic going, and also some celery. So I wish we had smell-o-vision. It smells really good. And I'll chop up some celery to go in there as well. The Boeuf Bourguignon recipe is pretty daunting when you find one in a cookbook. And it's got, you know, Julia had a zillion steps, and she used little pearl onions and all kinds of stuff. And, you know, really, fundamentally, it's not that hard. So here we go. And we're going to want to have those guys cook in a little bit of oil and a little bit of butter. And never have too much butter. And luckily we have Atlas Peak olive oil. Now these olive trees are just up the road from us. And the gal that makes this olive oil, it's just perhaps the best olive oil in the world. It is super delicious. It's probably a little too high quality to use in this dish for no particular reason, but you know, you've got to use high quality stuff when you're making a high quality dish. Okay. Now the key to browning the meat, which is coming up next, is making sure that the meat is dry. And so if you dry your meat, it'll get nice and brown, and if you put it in wet, it won't, and it just kind of turns gray. So having the meat dry is critical. We're going to pull these veggies out in a minute, and then we're going to go cut our meat. Okay, so these guys are just about ready to come out, and so I'll go ahead and pull them out and set them aside. It's kind of a multi-step process, this recipe, and maybe that's why it feels daunting as you're looking at all the different steps. Come on. Come on. Okay, that'll do. Now what we're going to do is put our beef in, and the beef's been dried. We're using a flank steak. You can use just about anything in this recipe, and even you can use some, you know, some meat that you normally might not think of using, like a skirt steak or a beef round or a hanger steak. Anything that wants to cook for a good long time can be used in this recipe. And so we're going to brown these guys on all sides. Okay, so I've got the first batch of meat is done, and I'm getting this guy browned on one side, and I'll turn him over and brown him on the other side. This is a pretty hot pan, And you may need to add a little bit of oil as you go along if it looks like it's drying out. One of the things that Julia emphasizes is not to crowd your meat. So the meat will brown well if it's not crowded together. If it's too crowded together, it's not going to be very happy because nobody's happy in a crowd. Now, the nice thing is that while you're doing this, I mean, it is pretty thirsty work. So you got to take care of yourself. Be sure you're well, hydrated, I guess we should say. 2010, Dos Lagos Vineyards. There you go. All right. Beef is looking good. You can even use stew meat for this. I mean, it cooks so long and gets so tender and just kind of falls apart that just about any cut of meat is gonna work. It really doesn't need to be sirloin or filet mignon or anything like that. Just a good cut of meat. There we go. Browned on both sides. Yum. Okay, we'll pull this out. And we're going to do one of Julia's secrets. More butter. And then the veggies go back in. See, one of the things that Julia had the benefit of was she had assistants all around her, and so do I. Thank you, assistant. You're very able. Okay, so these are going to get heated up a little bit again. Ooh, smells so good. Okay, so now we have our fresh garden herbs. This is marjoram, and I kind of grab it at one end and strip the leaves off the stalks. Probably can't put too much in. We're going to go with that. I've got a little bit of lemon basil. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. Strip those leaves off as well. Now I'm tempted to put the rosemary in, but sometimes eating the whole chunk of rosemary is too much, and so I'm going to put the rosemary in once it goes into the pot. Alright, so we're going to stir this up again. Smells really good. Always wants a little grind of pepper. And a little bit of salt. We don't normally cook with salt, but sometimes you got to have a little bit of salt. Alright, putting the beef back in. Stir that all around. Oh, bacon's back in too. Now this part seems crazy. A lot of recipes call for tomato paste. Guess what? Ketchup works just as well. Not very much. Tablespoon, maybe 2 tablespoons, and a little bit of balsamic, just a tick, and get that stirred up. Ooh, smelling good. Alright, we're going to use almond flour. You can use brown rice flour, you can use coconut flour. Almond flour works. We've been experimenting with almond flour a little bit. If you have an allergic reaction or you don't digest seeds very well, then the brown rice seeds and grains might be a problem. So we've been playing with almond flour of late, and it works pretty well. You got to use a little bit more than you would otherwise. You can see how carefully I measured that. All right, now this is where the magic happens. Dos Lagos Vineyards, 2010. We're gonna glug it in here at a pretty good rate. I think the recipe said 3 cups. I don't think that was 3 cups. That was about a glass and a half. Yeah, a little bit more. All right, we're gonna bubble that up. And what the almond flour and the wine and all the little crunchy bits on the bottom of the pan are going to do is make a nice, deep, rich brown sauce. And this will continue to cook in sauce for a little bit. Oh, broth. Talk amongst yourselves. You can use chicken broth, beef broth, kind of doesn't matter, just get enough liquid in there. That's good. Ooh, nice. Yum, yum. Alright, so the oven has been warming up. It is at 350. And so we're going to do this into the oven, covered with a couple of sprigs of rosemary just laying on top. Couple of sprigs, there we go. And the oven temperature is set so that this will continue to simmer, but not boil. Turn this down a little bit. And it's going to sit in the oven for tonight. We're going to go 3-4 hours, kind of doesn't really matter. Then it's going to go in the fridge overnight, and then we're going to pull it back out in the morning and put it into the slow cooker and warm it up slow kind of through the rest of the day. We have a Facebook date tomorrow with some friends of ours. He's cooking beef bourguignon as we speak in San Francisco, and so last week we did beef Wellington sort of cook-off. Tomorrow we're going to do a beef bourguignon cook-off, and speaking like Julia Child throughout the evening. Bon appetit! So what a difference a day makes. Now this has cooked 3 hours yesterday in the oven, in the Dutch oven. And then today it's been in for, let's see, we did this about noon, so about 6 hours in the slow cooker. I had it on high most of the time. I think it's still on high. It really doesn't matter. It's hard to overcook this stuff. It is super delicious and smells yummy. I'll show you the dished up part too. So what do you think of this? We've got Dos Lagos 2015 Cabernet Sauvignon and some delicious beef bourguignon. Bon appetit!